how much more expensive is it actually cost to go to Disneyland or Disney World versus 1960. There's this interesting article. It says America's favorite family outings are increasingly out of reach, which is actually true. It's getting a lot more expensive to do things.
Anything.
Yeah, anything. And this article does a great job of explaining not only has Disney gotten more expensive to go to, but the movies. If you want to go to a baseball game, and I'm going to show you something in here because we live in Boston area. And if you go down, this first thing that they talk about is how much more expensive baseball games have become over the years. In the top of the list, the Boston Red Sox, which is one of our city's baseball teams, or our city's baseball team, not one of, the only. And it costs for a family of four, $324 to go. And the baseball park isn't that nice.
Ooh, $320. That's why we haven't gone.
That's why we've never taken our kids, even though we love baseball and softball. We've never taken them to the Red Sox game because it costs a lot of money. Yeah. And we do happen to go to Disney a lot, which I'm scrolling down here, and it says the movies is expensive. And the last thing they wanted to talk about was the big daddy of them all, Disneyland in Anaheim, California.
The big daddy of
them? The big daddy of them all.
Wait, it actually says that?
It does. Okay. It says, this is actually called The Hustle. It's a business newsletter that talks and breaks down costs and just talks about business and marketing. And I'm subscribed to it. It says the big daddy of them all. And it says they're going to break down the cost for 2 child tickets, 2 adult tickets, parking in one night stay at a Disneyland hotel. And it breaks down the cost right here, 1960, what it costs for those 4 things. Inflation, if the price was adjusted for inflation, and then what it actually cost in 2022. So are you ready to hear this, Connie?
It says, in parentheses, one important clarifying note that back in 1960, you paid for the park admission ticket and the rides separately. So they've combined those costs down below of what you're about to share.
Right, which it's still way more money today than it was back then.
And also that this is June and Disney has dynamic ticketing pricing. So it depends on when you go of how expensive it is. I'm trying to be really positive if you can't tell.
Well, you're right. And I do have the standard ticket item up here where it says, because it is dynamic pricing, which dynamic pricing means the price can fluctuate based on how busy the park is. Right. So if you go on lesser busy times, it's going to be a cheaper to get in than if you go during Christmas week.
Peak times.
Right. So in 1960, a park ticket cost $5.55, which is crazy to me.
And then it goes up from there. It says in 1960, prices include admission ticket and ride passes, which sold separately. Adults were $1.60 admission plus $3.95 a pass for rides, and children's were 60 cents admission plus $2.95 for their ride pass. So that's where the $5.55 comes from. Adjusted
for inflation, that in today's money would be $54.81. Now, they took the most expensive ticket.
No, in 1960.
No, adjusted for inflation. So today's dollars, adjusted for inflation, that $5.55 today would be $54.81.
Okay.
Gone cross-eyed a little bit doing all this public math.
It's a lot of math, and I'm not great. Okay, go ahead.
But a ticket today, and this is the highest tiered price, is $149. So almost 3 times as much.
Ooh.
Which is a lot of money.
Yeah.
One hotel was $18. If you stayed at the Disneyland Hotel back in the day, in 1960, it was $18 per night. Imagine paying $18 a night to stay at the Disneyland Hotel.
All I keep thinking about when we're reading this is how we can get Dr. Professor Brown, to actually build us a time machine.
You know what's funny? Speaking of Dr. Brown in Back to the Future, we just saw that episode. Movie, sorry.
Yeah.
And Biff says, "You just cost me $300 to my car." And in my brain, I was thinking to myself, wow, $300 back in 1955 must have been $8 million.
That's a lot of money.
He could have just bought a new car, can't you? Couldn't you have bought a new car in 1955 for $300?
I gotta look that up. Maybe they messed up that line, and maybe he accidentally said 300 of 1980s time versus 1950s time.
Right, because that seems like a lot of money back then.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, cars were quite expensive back then.
I guess they were different than they are now.
Yeah.
And they also said the most expensive thing that's jumped the most percentage-wise is parking. It was 25 cents to park in 1960. It's $30 to park now.
That kind of hits home hard.
Right. It says what's gone up the most. The hotel has gone up 2,372%. An adult ticket, 2,500%. A child ticket's gone up 3,800%. And parking has gone up 11,000%.
Wait. That's a thing. 11,000. I always thought it was just like it ends at 100% people.
Well, 100% would be double.
Okay.
So 11,000 is quite a bit more than that.
Wow.
And then down the bottom, it says, how many hours does a family have to work for and afford an outing to Disneyland? Like, this is something that we think about all the time.
Oh, for sure, because we also have to, we actually have to make sacrifices for affording the lifestyle we want or the Disney trips that we want to take. We often, tell our kids that they have to wear out things or, for Christmas, it's mostly socks for everybody. That's just kind of how we do things.
Yeah, people often ask us, how do you go to Disney so much? And you know what? We do a podcast and we talk about it a lot. We don't go that much. We go a couple times a year. It's not like we're there every other weekend, like people who live in Orlando.
Right.
We do go probably more than most, and we are able to do that. But how do we do that? We do sacrifice. We don't have cable. We have, we don't do a lot of other outings or go on vacations to other places. Like Connie said, we do try to figure out ways in order to save money, and then ask yourself, is it worth it to get this?
Yeah, instead of Red Sox, we see the local Navigator.
Right, or you just go to the high school or local college team that's free and watch a softball game. Those are pretty exciting as well.
Right.
So here it says, in 1960, a baseball game was 3.8 hours to afford a baseball game. Today it's 5.1, so it's only gone up 32%. Movies has actually stayed pretty much the same. Disneyland, however, you have to work 26, and this is an average hourly rate of $40 an hour. They're taking the average medium income and dividing it by a 40-hour work week, which comes out to $40 an hour. You have to work 26 hours just to afford to be able to go to Disney. That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But is it worth it?
A lot of work that, I don't know, sometimes I don't want to do.
Right? I think it can be worth it, though, if you do Disney right. And what does doing Disney right actually mean?
Well, it depends on the family. It depends on the person's whatever goals they might have, right?
Yes, and I think you have to decide. Some people try to do too much in one visit.
Right, that's true.
And I think if you plan properly, and planning properly doesn't mean you plan out every second of your day.
No, and it also doesn't mean that you get maybe to stay at a certain style or type of resort, but there are definitely ways that you can go that I know we've done it in the past of ways to save money, and that it all becomes a great trip in the end.
Yeah.
It's the memories you make, right? And
we actually just did a video about free things that you can do at Disney.
Well, it's free things, but you still got to go to Disney.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
That's the, you got to figure out what is the most important thing to you. For us, it's not, hey, sometimes it's peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Or or instead of going to think about how much it's going to cost you to go to Disney, what you can do is you can get annual passes to Universal.
Or that.
That's what we did. Because it's a lot cheaper to get annual passes to Universal than it is to get annual passes for Disney. Not that you can even get annual passes for Disney.
That's also true.
Or, because I'm pulling up the screen right here, the annual passes for Disney, there's 4 tiers. All of them aren't available at the moment. But
that's a bummer. It's like, why even bother talking about it?
It's, there was a lot of people talking about annual passes on YouTube videos and on blogs about how even as an annual pass holder, it's hard to get reservations the way it's set up now.
Oh, right. That's true.
So even if you do have one that doesn't have a lot of blackout dates, it's still hard to get a reservation because you have to book it so much in advance.
Yeah.
I do enjoy the Universal annual passes, though, because they're pretty, relatively inexpensive is, subjective.
In low expectations.
Right. But you don't have to have the booking ahead of time. You can just kind of go in whenever you want.
Right.
Which is really nice. And I think Universal is doing a great job of bringing in things to the parks and resorts and food much better than they were before.
They have definitely stepped up their game for sure. At least from what I remember growing up, yes, there's that magic that doesn't necessarily happen as quite often in Universal, but I think it's what you make of it, and I definitely think they've gotten a lot better.
Yeah, I think the difference between Disney and Universal in the past has been the attention to detail.
Definitely.
Disney does have a great attention to detail, and they do make you feel, for the most part,
immersed.
Welcome when you're there.
Well, I think all that changed. Look. I mean, Universal did a great job incorporating Harry Potter and all the talented people that worked on that park and did so many things where you really feel like you're stepping into the movie. So I think that's really where things changed with Universal. And to be honest, I feel like they're getting even better. So we'll see.
100%. Listen, I'm not into Harry Potter, but I think the Wizarding World of Harry Potter is done much better than Galaxy's Edge.
Ooh.
Sorry, I said it.
Yeah, we
I-
just lost subscribers.
I'm not saying Galaxy's Edge is bad.
We just lost a lot.
Hold on. Let me rephrase it.
Why
I'm
don't
not
you-
saying Galaxy's Edge is bad.
Yeah.
But I'm saying the Wizarding World of Harry Potter is done better.
Wizarding. Yeah. Look, I mean, it's two different stories. I think it's two different kind of maybe folks that they're trying to attract, but I do agree with you. You don't necessarily have to be a fan of Harry Potter to really have fun and immerse yourself in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter.
That's exactly why I said that. Well, I
Yeah.
walked into the Wizarding World of Harry Potter and I was wowed.
Yeah, when you
I
go to
am a Star Wars fan, and I wasn't wowed when I walked into Galaxy's Edge. I was like, wow, this is what I expect at Galaxy's Edge. But in Wizarding World, I was, whoa.
you kind of go into Diagon Alley and you really get your breath taken away. Like maybe it's low expectations, I don't know, but it's not something that you would expect to be so highly detailed. At least that's how I feel. And I've been there many times. We've been lucky enough to visit many times, and that feeling hasn't worn out yet. So I kind of, I guess, agree with you.
So, I don't know. Let's see what happens with Disney. They're doing some new things. Tron's going to open. They have some other plans in the works for, there's a lot of attractions opening at Epcot. That's new. I think it's going to be a fun time to watch what happens.
Hey, a little competition's always good. I think it makes whoever's doing something even better. You got to always kind of, I mean, that's how we got to land on the moon. Like
Yeah.
pressure, right? It's like you gotta.
When you have, like, if there was no competition from Universal, Disney wouldn't have to do anything
Exactly.
because they could just be the place.
Right.
So I think that's what makes it great. Let us know what you think in the comments below. We'll see you back here on the next video.
Bye, everybody.